Hello everyone, and welcome to our backyard. In today's video, I want to share with you why we invite birds into our backyard and what the benefits are of that. So if you follow my channel, you know that I gardened for butterflies and hummingbirds. And so what you see here are hummingbird feeders, and then that is a suet feeder. But I also invite other birds into our yard. In today's video, I want to share with you why and the advantages. So as I've panned around the yard, you can see that I have different feeding stations. But you're probably asking, why birds? Why bring birds into the yard, or why encourage birds into my yard? And as a butterfly and hummingbird gardener, I do not use pesticides, fungicides, or herbicides. And so birds really help control pests in the yard. You know, I don't have pests per se. I'll have a few aphids here and there on the milkweed. Yeah, you know, the birds are wonderful. They come in, they're in my beds, they're in the pots. They control these pests and weed seeds phenomenally. And so I want to encourage them in my yard. They're also pollinators, and not just the hummingbirds, but other birds that come in and, you know, get pollen on them and spread that pollen. So of course the butterflies do that, you know, the other bees and native bees that I have, but birds are also a good pollinator. They're good pollinators. And the final thing is they really bring a lot of enjoyment to the backyard. I absolutely enjoy having birds. So now that you know why I do this, and over time I've actually put up different types of feeders here. And I'm going to link up at the top because I did do a video on these types of feeders. And so I will link that both at the top and also in the description. So if you have feeders, it's really, really super important to keep them clean. And that truly is as simple as filling a bucket with a 10% solution of bleach and water. So 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. And I let that soak. You know, I clean the feeders, rinse them out, let them soak. And then after they're done soaking a good 15 or 20 minutes, then I rinse them off with my hose and I put them in a bucket of plain water to soak. And I let them air dry in the sun before I put more feed in them, so they are, you know, nice and clean and nice and dry, because wet seed starts that breeding process of bacteria and all the yucky stuff. So it doesn't have to be a difficult process, and it doesn't really actually take that long. And so it's really important to keep the feeders clean for the birds. You'll notice I also use wipes. So whatever type of sanitizing wipes that you have, the wipes are really good for keeping my platform feeders clean. So I also rinse those out in my little trays. Come up underneath here, my little trays lift out very easily, but I also want to clean around the tray feeder, and it just keeps it so nice. Once I started using the sanitizing wipes, cleaning just got so much easier. And then of course make sure you have everything rinsed. So if you do have feeders, it's really important to keep them clean and sanitized, but it's also important to fill them regularly so the birds know that you have food and that they'll regularly come. I have got food all over. And I have birds that are all over my yard regularly, and it's such a benefit to the yard. The other thing that you might want to consider is to have some type of water or bird bath. I actually right now have 3 different types. And I'm going to come down. And I do have one on the ground. It's just a simple tray, and it's a terracotta, but it's a ceramic lined pot, and I have a little wiggler there so the water doesn't stay stagnant, and the birds will come and of course drink and take baths. So I have one here. I'm gonna come over this way. I have one here that is specifically to attract hummingbirds. And then I have one there. And all of the bird baths attract birds to not only bathe, but to drink. You'll notice in this bird bath, I have a very inexpensive solar water fountain that also helps keep the water moving, and so I don't have issues with mosquitoes. It doesn't hinder the birds at all. And what you see here, these little straws that came with it, it just helps it keep it centered so it doesn't move and go up and splash water over the side. Water is a huge attractor to birds in your yard, and you'll notice I have it right next to one of my garden beds, and birds are in this bed all the time. They'll come in to the bird bath. I have cardinals in here. I have chickadees and wrens, and it's amazing all the different types of birds that come in and just perch and come down and will feed on the bugs and pests that are in the garden. They keep control of the pests for me. It's absolutely wonderful. If you decide to feed birds in your yard, there's different types of food that attract different types of birds. And basically, you're either looking at seeds, which is what you see here. I've got a feeder of safflower seeds. And the reason I have them in a cage is because I have very large white-winged doves that will come in flocks, and they love that seed. Of course, my cardinals and chickadees and finches love this seed also, but the white-winged doves are very large. I've heard them called garbage cans of the sky. And I don't want to attract them, and so this cage keeps them out. But this is a type of bird seed that you see. I have shelled sunflower seeds in this, what's called a tube feeder. And the reason I use shelled seed is because I don't like messes on the ground underneath my feeders, and so having this type of seed makes it really nice and clean, and I don't have the mess. So I have different types of seed. I also have seed up in my tray feeder. I'm going to come down. I'm going to pan over. I have seeds in a couple of of feeders over here. And then the other type of feed is suet. And suet attracts another type of bird. You can have pretty little decorative feeders that have nice little suet cups that are easily dispensed. You can also just smear suet like I do here up on the tree. I use bark butter, and that is a huge attractor to so many different types of birds. I love bark butter just because of how many different types of birds it attracts. And so, suet are for those types of birds that eat insects, and not just seeds, for instance. And so I'll see, so many different kinds of birds that eat the suet, from woodpeckers to cardinals to blue jays to mockingbirds to, your smaller songbirds. Yesterday, I even had a huge American crow, just humongous, come in and take a few bites of the bark butter. You can also get specialized feeders like this, which is a suet feeder. Suet is in here, and this has a tail prop specifically for woodpeckers that they brace their tails on. And this is a suet feeder that my woodpeckers particularly like. And I have a suet log in here, and different birds, it's not just woodpeckers, will come and eat suet. And it has the different holes, as you can see if I get a little closer, different holes along the outside that they will come, fly to attach, and then just eat out of the suet feeder. So again, those types typically aren't necessarily seed type birds. So I want to supply food for both types because I want to encourage both types in the yard, because I want them to take care of my pests. The other thing you can do is you don't have to feed birds directly with seed in your yard. You can actually plant plants that will provide berries for them that bring them, very much attract them to your yard. This happens to be the berry from our native coral honeysuckle tree that birds love. They also just love the berries from our firebush. We have lots of berries on firebush. So you don't have to feed birds directly. You can plant plants that just encourage them into your yard. One plant that I highly am considering, because it does attract so many different wonderful types of pollinators into the yard, is the American beautyberry. I don't have that in my yard yet, so I'm real curious. For those of you that do, what do you think of American beautyberry here in Zone 9? I am very, very much considering getting that. If you do feed birds in your yard, or you like to watch birds in your yard, I want to suggest something for you to consider. And that happens to be what's called Project Feeder Watch. This is through Cornell University and their School of Ornithology, and just regular people in regular backyards can count and submit their winter bird counts online. You can do this whenever you wish. You do not have to do it regularly. It can be very irregular. I happen to count weekly, but Project Feeder Watch actually starts November 1st, and they count bird populations that we see, and they do research off of the winter bird counts. And so we live in Texas, and we have some birds that will migrate down to us. For instance, we will have American goldfinches come down and join us for 3 months or so in the winter, and then get ready and all beefed up to go back up north for spring during their breeding season. So I'm going to put information in a link in the description about this. I can't remember how much it costs. It's like $15-18. It's in the teens anyway, and that's purely to keep this going. And so this will be the 3rd year that I've done Project Feeder Watch in the winter time, and it's very interesting. It's so fun to watch the birds and see what's going on. I've had chickadees and wrens. You can see my cleaning stuff over here that I use to just clean. Oh, he moved on. And so, again, having birds in the pollinator garden is such an advantage. So I don't have to use chemicals. It's fun how all the different birds that come to my yard regularly know my yard in and out. They come into pots. They're all throughout the pots, getting the pests. They're up in amongst the branches. You can just see, I just do not have pests. And if I do, there aren't many. And they just love all parts of pollinator gardens. Pollinator gardens attract birds. And in addition, I try to bring them in and attract them more so they will come into the yard, and I have a friendly space for them. My female cardinal loves to come in. She loves this bed. The male cardinal loves to take a bath, and the female cardinal loves to perch right here and sing. Or tweet, I guess is the best way to say it. The males are the ones that do the most singing. So, just to kind of sum up, I want to bring up my little post-it note of earlier on why birds. Well, for controlling the pests and the weed seeds is wonderful, and having them as pollinators is also wonderful. But they do bring a lot of enjoyment into the yard. And in the dead of winter, when it's cold, sometimes, the gardens can look very sparse. But when you have active birds in your yard feeding on your seeds, I've got coneflowers back here that the finches love. And they certainly love the seeds that I put out for them. It's fun to have the flocks come in and just bring life into your yard and bring smiles. So that is why I garden for not only butterflies and hummingbirds, but also invite birds into my garden. So my garden is healthy and it is lush and it can support native wildlife. Well, thank you much for joining me. I really enjoy those of you that are regulars on the channel. I enjoy your comments. I love the information that we share. And I hope you have a wonderful day today. And I hope to see you again.